What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Already Did It, your weekly movie podcast for things that have been rebooted, remade, sequelized, and are otherwise not very new. Of course, I am your host, Blake Schultz, and with me is Terrence Tatum.
Hello, everyone.
And this week we're talking about a movie that's kind of adapted from... This is a very different thing for us.
I like this.
We're doing Hustlers, the movie that obviously came out this week because nothing else is coming out in the shadow of It 2.
Right.
Why would you? It's only September, and we should be getting so many horror movies, but instead we're going to get this weird app that counts down to your death at some point.
You saw that ad too, huh?
I think we could talk about that trailer for an hour.
Yes.
We're going to sidebar really quick. I have never seen a trailer that I've been like, this is the stupidest thing in the world, but also have scares that I'm like, wow, that was really good. When she's in that bed and she thinks it's her boyfriend, and then that's
that's great. I was like, this trailer ended, and I was like, oh my god, I went from this is so dumb to like, maybe I should see this.
But I kept going back to it's dumb. She sees death in the rearview mirror, and then no one's there, and you're like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But then you look at this stupid app that's for some reason the Aries Virgo sign. Anyways.
I was confused why that trailer was in front of this movie, though. That's what
it's an STX movie, I think.
Got it.
Yeah, they were just front loading it.
Got it.
I think that's why. I could be wrong, but I'm not. Anyways, Hustlers, adapted from an article that may or may not be a true story, even though there are corroborating interviews,
Right.
tapes, what some would call evidence, proving that this happened.
Yeah.
However, the first person to, admit fault later said, it's all fake.
Nah.
Which would kind of be like if I walked into a cop place and said, I've committed crimes, and then later was like, those crimes?
I'm going to strike that.
I was lying.
That wasn't me.
Wild, right? Hustlers. So this is different for us because we don't usually do true stories or biopics unless we need to.
Right.
This is unique, though, in that we really are adapting a character.
Yeah.
Right? I can't really think of too many other times where we've just adapted somebody's paraphrased story.
Right. Like a short story, essentially.
Right. It's like the maximum overdrive of heist movies.
Right.
Stephen King did some cocaine and wrote about cars, and we made a movie with the Green Goblin in it by accident.
Yeah.
This is a movie where other people did cocaine and spent more money than God.
An insane amount of money. Yeah.
So what did you think of the movie?
So two things. One, I will go on record to say, sorry folks, I know we're probably going to get some new listeners because of The Hustlers. I was not a big fan of J-Lo before this movie.
What?
She's only had two films that Out of Sight is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And then Selena, anytime that's on, I'm going to watch it. But overall, her career, for the most part, I'm like, oh God, no. So I really went into this movie, like, I don't want to watch this. And that woman was amazing in this film.
All of the actors in this movie
are really
were incredible.
Yeah, Constance was great too. But J-Lo I was like, oh, Jesus, it's fascinating to watch her. On the other side, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. Like, this movie knocked me out. I was like, wow. Was not, because the commercials make this seem like this is going to be like a Magic Mike for guys, like a stripper.
It makes it look very generic.
Right.
It makes it look like the girls are just going to be at this strip club, drug the guys, get their money, and go home.
But then you kind of find out that it's basically like the BioShock 2 to The Big Short, where it's like, hey, we're going to kind of tell you the underside of the people who are underneath the Wall Street collapse.
Right.
Like, well, that's... And I get it, you probably would not have been able to get butts in the seats if that's what you were selling. But my God, that was such a good... I
think you might have gotten more.
You think so?
I kind of do, because that's such a much more unique story than what the trailer kind of showed. Mm-hmm. The trailer also was like, look at the sex.
Right.
I think had the reviews not been incredible...
I agree.
And that trailer was the only trailer they were using, had stuck to that, they would have made less money.
Yeah.
The second I realized this was going to be about the 2008 crash and the consequences of that, and then we got into this almost 1930s gangster type archetypes and story beats that I love.
Yeah.
and all the actors were great, and it was shot well, and it's a very well-produced movie. My biggest problem, they did my like cardinal sin of storytelling, and it's even more frustrating to me when there's so much meat on the bone.
So much good stuff happening.
So many montages.
It's a lot.
And right off the bat, and I'm going to use Ocean's 11 as my kind of example
Kind of what the
of
with, yeah.
there's a location you can go to that you don't really need to throw in my face. It's always going to be cool. I don't need montages of Vegas to be
is
like,
here.
Vegas. This just kept being like, look at the strip club and the strippers and ushers here. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's sexy and fun, but like, let's get to the meat.
As a person, I've said off mic that I used to date a stripper. So a lot of the stuff that happened within the strip club stuff, I love. Like the whole showing of her going through her day and basically having to show herself and then have to pay out so many people.
That's what I
great.
mean. That stuff
That's
is all
great.
good. It's
But
the like
the
hip hop
usher
song
sequence,
coming up.
The usher,
and-
the ladies coming to the back, and I don't mind even the backstage stuff of them talking about after their day off where they all corroborate. That one time is fine. Where it bothers me, like, because I kind of agree, the usher sequence is utterly unneeded. In
Right.
this film. It does nothing to tell the story. It's literally just like, hey, girls. It's like, oh, this is our last day of being.
This was the last fun day. and-
But you could have.
But it wasn't the last day of being happy, Terrence. They celebrated Christmas
so I'm like,
together.
that wasn't it. You could have moved that somewhere else.
You could have just taken it out.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
very much to me felt like they were just like, we need a cool celebrity.
So the director has said, because that's not in the article
No.
at all. The article director did say that this was her thing to kind of like, I just added that in. I was like, well, it feels like it because
That's
this
a
is not
weird thing to just be like,
Usher, let's call Usher for a day and see
did
what
he
happens.
owe you a favor? He doesn't strike me as the guy that you're just like, yo, I'm making a movie.
Yeah. I agree that was a moment, and I know because it's stunt casting, but having Cardi B and Lizzo, you could have the Cardi B teaching her how to do the lap dance part was fine. The random shot of Cardi B talking to the bouncer about whatever the hell she's talking about.
I'm not getting if I don't
Yeah.
make money tonight and
That could
everybody
be
has a
cut.
job but you.
You can tell that was one of those ones where they got the dailies like, oh, Cardi B did such a good job in this scene. Let's give her another scene. And I was like, guys, she doesn't.
Because I gotta say, they were talking about her a lot. She's not
in the movie.
movie
she
that
and
much.
Lizzo are because there is a time jump, and then she leaves the strip club, and by the time she comes back, the entire strip club is done. When she comes back, none of those old strippers are
Right.
there. So Cardi B and Lizzo are all at the table at that point. So like, even though they're on the poster and they're done, like I said, for stunt casting purposes, but they're not in the movie much. I mean,
They're good.
They're good.
But yeah, they're
when
just
they're there. They're fine, but it's just kind of like they're props, sort of in the background.
Right. But I think because we got a little too montagey, we also kind of kept scratching the surface and not getting as deep as I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Because once we really got into what like the hustle was and the scheme, and like you start getting a little bit more like, well, we got a little loose and we got a little like bring in these like
The
riffraff.
rules weren't
and-
as tight as we used to be.
And I was like, well, this is the part. This is Fredo and The Godfather
Right.
now. This is old James Cagney, the one guy who's not good at it, the guy who's getting high on his own supply. This is the undercover cop in The Departed. This is when the gangster movie, and they keep saying it's like a heist thriller, right? This
Yeah.
should have been a gangster movie. These are like hustling gangster women that are now fighting against the housing crisis in 2008, who are finding marks and hustling them out and having that kind of repetition of like, and then we drugged him and then some of them didn't want to party. And so I was like, no. Now you give me 2 or 3 marks that can start being the antagonist and we can start to see J-Lo go a little crazy and Constance Wu get a little sympathetic and Lily Reinhart get like sicker and sicker. I want to watch this degrade
I love her
now
vomiting all over.
because you've done a good enough job of making me
setup.
care about these people
Yeah.
that I now really want to like get into where it went wrong. Because it just kind of feels haphazard. Even
Right.
in the movie, they're just kind of like, and then we got one guy, and then we got another guy, and then we busted all of them. We got her at the ATM, and her at the courthouse, and
Yeah.
her in her house, and Constance Wu walks out of her house, and
Right.
ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
I think for me, because I get where you're coming from. It feels like you wanted a slightly different movie, and I think for me, that didn't bother me because I never looked at this as a gangster film. I looked at this again. I'll use that as an analogy, sort of a quasi Big Short a C story to Big Short. You're looking at what would happen if people who basically got stepped on consistently decided to like, all right, look, I'm tired of getting stepped on, and I'm finally we're gonna do something and kind of like bring ourselves up. And even if you do that and it works for a minute, you know that like they say in this film, you know what's going to happen. They're going to put your ass right back into place. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, you can do this and it might work for a minute. You might be able to get ahead for a minute. But at the end of the day, those rich white men in suits are going to get back on top and put you right back where you are supposed to be.
Right.
And that's that's essentially what happens in this film. And that's why the up and down of like Star Wars, like the gangster stuff didn't concern me. I looked at it because I think you said before that you didn't see a clear-cut antagonist. I look at the Men of Wall Street as sort of the main antagonist, and then what ends up happening is because of Constance Wu her character Dorothy, not Constance Wu. I'm not going to keep calling her that because that's not Constance, but like Dorothy doesn't in Destiny. That's her stripper name. She doesn't quite trust Ramona enough,
right?
And that is she becomes the antagonist, and the way that the movie goes through a lot of times, not sometimes a little too vague. It seems like Destiny, when talking to Julia Stiles' character, is setting up this arc that Ramona is the antagonist, and she does something that like breaks their friendship and kind of. But all she does really wants is take the phone from her and be like, "Hey, stick to the fucking plan." And when she doesn't do that, she as a human starts saying like, okay, this person is now being antagonistic against me. When all she does is like, no, you now breaking the own rules that we have set up. You are now messing this up. And then long and short, spoilers, when everything falls apart and they all go to jail, everyone's sticking to the plan except for Destiny. She's the one who rats out the team immediately. So you are no longer the good person in this.
And those are the beats that change it into a gangster movie. And that's when I'm like, oh, we got to get a little deeper here now. Because I don't think she was ever, I guess, antagonistic enough. Because they play it more like she gets jealous of Dawn.
Yeah.
That Dorothy is really just like, well, I was the girl, and now you have this new it girl, and you've thrown me out, and it's all breaking down. And I was like, well, now is when we got to really either erode this friendship or show what's changing, because the white men who are the antagonists in this movie, Terrence, they get beat in 2008.
They do. They're already taking an L at that point.
They're not the villain anymore. Yeah. Your first act break gets rid of them. Yeah. It would be like if they killed Darth Vader in A New Hope and spent the rest of the movie seducing stormtroopers.
Yeah. I think they could have tightened up the antagonistic thing a little bit more, because they mentioned it a couple of times where Destiny gets upset that Ramona keeps bringing in strays, and I think that could have been the thing that like you could have played it off a little stronger, that she wasn't finding these cokeheads. When you're finding these cokeheads and these crackheads, you're still 1-on-1 with her when this is happening. When that happens, you need to like be upset or say something to her to like, you can't keep bringing these people, and almost set up like where it's two different teams of people trying to do this job, because there are already, because of the racket they were doing and they were bringing people to clubs, there are already people who are copycatting them. So at that point, you two could have splintered off and kind of done your own thing, and that way it would seem like a little bit more.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Yeah. We see this evolution happen, but I still kind of feel like we rush through that beat too, where we see the copycats, and then very quickly they're like, so we started going to hotel rooms. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, we could have.
Which is very dangerous.
Right. And I was like, oh, well, we need to spend more time on that and a little less time opening presents on Christmas morning and dancing with the grandma.
The Christmas morning and grandma thing does not bother me as much as it does you, because it does establish them as a full family, and which makes Ramona not dropping a dime on Destiny that much more heartbreaking, that Destiny was so easily to just be like, cool, I'm telling everything.
Well, she at that point, and they kind of, they try to play it up that she starts caring about the kid.
Right, she's caring about the little girl. She starts falling in love with her grandmother there. Like, I feel like this movie does everything possible to make it seem like Ramona is the bad person who's just in it for herself, when all in all, it looks like she's just trying to, the love that she's giving to all these strays is because she actually does care about these strays.
She's trying to pretty woman everyone.
Right. Yeah. And I think that is the kind of selling, because even at the end, because she's like, when she sees her, in the middle, when she sees her again for the first time, it almost looked like two lovers that found each other again, and like, oh my God, you're still here. And it's one of those ones where, because of the way that Destiny was just abandoned by her parents and kind of just left out there and like staying with her grandmother. I just kind of think she did not know how to love. She basically sent G-Eazy off to do whatever the hell he was doing.
Right.
Like, well, you're pushing him off. She didn't really seem to care that much about the kid as much. Like when she's talking to one of her Johns on the phone, she's like, "Oh yeah, that's somebody
I'm
else's
just watching
kid."
it.
Yeah. Whereas Ramona, even while still doing all of her shit, she still gave so much fucks about her little girl.
Yeah, they kind of flipped the script on like a Breaking Bad story where it's like if Jesse had ended up being the bad one and Walter was like, "Oh, I really care." Where it's, and I like that too. And that's kind of it's my only hang up because everything I like so much that since there's all of these filler moments, I'm like, no, I want more of these moments.
Cut out Usher and give me more of this.
Yes! Yes! And I like the Christmas scene, Terrence, but did we need to do a 5-minute bit of all of the famous people they've slept with and went around with? We didn't. We needed to be at Christmas.
I like the Christmas scene. It did probably go on for 5 minutes too long. I think it's almost like 10 minutes.
It's a long scene.
It is.
And like by the fourth time we see Lily Reinhart drug a drink, I'm like, I get it, guys, but she's doing such a good job in this movie, and I love her, and I just want to see her act. I don't want to see her keep sexily pouring things in.
As a person who watches Riverdale, she did amazing in this.
She's great. All of them are great, and it kills me that they're not in it more.
Yeah, I say Kiki and like Lily, they're both actively on the posters, but they are. I mean, this is honestly J-Lo and Constance Wu's film, and they are very sub characters. Hell, Reinhardt, actually, both of them don't come in until the second half of the strip club has been established.
And now look, I'm so hungry for a great gangster movie.
Yeah.
We don't do them anymore. We don't get them the way we used to. This could have taken 2008 and this Robin Hood twist and fucking gone for the nines.
Well, I guess my question is because I mean I think we both saw it, but Widows would be
a
gangster female film that unfortunately nobody saw.
That's true. The only counter to that is like, I don't think Widows was as much of a cautionary tale as old gangsters, like Public Enemy, White Heat were like, the gangster is the bad man, and we're going to show you why. And I thought this movie did a really good job of kind of being like, look, 2008 was hard on everybody, and you can start doing these schemes and hustling, but you're going to break everything if you keep doing this. You're not going to get out of it. This magic number that you think exists, like what a relevant thing for today, because everyone right now is either student debts and loans. I think
that's why this movie resonated so much, because J-Lo's monologue at the end when she's just like, the whole world is a strip club.
Oh, I cried.
I was like,
twice in this fucking movie. Correct. I teared up.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, that is moments, and I'll say this, like she'll probably she'll definitely get in the Golden Globe combination, but I know she's starting to get some. J-Lo is phenomenal in this. There's some speeches that they give her that are great, but Constance Wu is actually no slouch either. Like she does a really good job.
She's great.
To the point where now I'm starting like, oh, I know why now you don't want to do that show anymore. You're like, I want to do this.
Yeah, stuff. You still shouldn't tweet. Fuck, we got renewed. Like,
I get what you were saying. You just did it the wrong way.
Yeah, don't. Why don't we slow down a little bit?
Yeah.
And you know, there's only one example of it, because they do something, they make a directorial choice that I loved, and I wanted more, and I was like, I love when they make these options. And it's when she decides to turn off the tape recorder and everything goes silent. And I was like, what a great creative silence. You don't see directing choices like this in big, and this isn't a big movie by any means, it's an STX movie, but you don't even really see those choices often, right? Those are kind of things that get left.
Yeah.
Counterpoint to that, though, why was Constance Wu in a car without a driver, and then we never reference that again?
She references it before, because that's her whole thing where she talks about her being she's like, I'm in a dream. I keep being in this dream where there's no driver in my car. So that scene comes after. It's placed wrong. Like I feel like that scene should be before her having that moment.
Terribly, Terrence.
That should be placed before she has that.
Because she doesn't wake up. We cut to the cops.
Right. So it seems like it's almost real, and I'm like, well, hold on. This should be placed in before that, so that when we get to the point where she reveals it, saying that this is a dream, we'd be like, oh, that's what that was. Makes sense. It's funny. The audience I was in, by the way, my theater was packed. It was nuts.
Full house.
Yeah. But the sound being out it didn't bother me because, this is an artistic choice. But the couple of rows behind me were like, what's happening to sound? Somebody fix the sound. I was like,
every time.
Doing this on purpose. It's
Every
fine.
time. How many theaters are you going to where the sound is queuing out? Right. I've never had that happen. Yeah. I've had reels burn out. I've had digital projectors break, but never in my lifetime of movie going has it just muted. Right. That's preposterous. It's The Last Jedi again, where they're like, what's happening?
I don't understand. And then it came back up, and the guy was like, I think they meant to do that. I was like, yes, the fuck they meant to do that.
I think that might have been a choice. Did you notice she hit stop? And this is an interview, which means if they can't hear it, we can. That's very clever, because it's off the book. Oh, I get it now. Yeah. Jesus.
I hate all of you.
These fictional people that I've invented.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I think everybody in my theater got that, but I had two people next to me that were just hooting and hollering at every half, and there were some good comedy beats in it, but there were no belly laughs in it, and my whole theater for the most part was quiet, but these two next to me were just like, oh, every 30 seconds.
I was in Pasadena, California at Santa Anita, which is partially Asian, but this is the most I've seen of my people, black people, into a theater ever. It was like being back at a theater back in Detroit, where a good 40% of the audience was trying to talk to the theater, and music would come on, they start singing with the songs. Like, oh, this is I'm at a concert right now. It felt like one of those. It also felt like some of these girls, at some point in time, may have also been an exotic dancer, and they're kind of watching, like, oh no, that's true. Yeah, girl.
Yeah, this is really the Black Panther for strippers.
Right.
It's great.
I really enjoyed this. It's way more than I thought I would have any right to.
Yeah.
And then I watched the movie first. I had the article bookmarked, but I didn't read the article till after I watched it.
Aren't you glad you did it in that order?
I'm glad I did it that way.
Because you would have been like, well, now hold on. She's a stone. And that's also where I'm like, it's a gangster movie. She's a fucking gangster.
She is a thug.
Like I'm like
Destiny
damn.
Is a hood. Like they are literally the Shaq and Kobe. They are both alpha A's. They are both those. And you get a bit of that too. She is the numbers person. She's keeping all the tracks. Like they took bits of everything that happens in that article. Like whoever the writer, I know the director is one of the writers, but there's somebody else who helped write too. Whoever wrote and crafted the script off of that article did a damn good job, because they took just highlights out of everything that it worked.
I just kind of wish they had stuck a little bit more to her real character. And it's a challenge, right? Because you don't want to make a movie where nobody is relatable, but I again point you to Breaking Bad. Yeah. And all of these other...
But I think that has the luxury of having a long-form tale to
Sure. The Departed won an Oscar. Everyone in that movie's an asshole.
Everyone is a dick.
The Joker's about to come out, Terrence, and it's estimated to make $85 million. Yeah, so we can obviously make an antagonistic character.
I will say this, though.
Venom.
I think the question that I have because this is where this gets a little dicey. Can you do all antagonistic people with women? I don't know if the audience will go see, and this is where this gets ugly, I don't know if an audience will see women be catty or that B word for an entire film.
Maybe it's time we tried it to see.
Yeah.
We don't know, because we're too afraid to go, this is the reality, because we're a little too coddled, and we're being a little too safe, and we're being a little too nice. Not that we shouldn't be, but... Maybe, I don't know if you're right or wrong, Terrence, but I think it would be fine. I just don't think anybody has the stones to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Someone has to do it first.
And look, if that's who these people are,
right?
And look, Terrence, these are people going to prison.
Yeah.
I don't need you to be like, she's an amazing person and she was left alone by her parents and what a sad story.
These are women that are actively drugging men to steal from them.
By the end, and I'll play devil's advocate to this. If this was a movie about a bunch of men drugging women, Terrence,
Jesus Christ,
we wouldn't even have fucking tried to make it. So don't give me this, are we ready for it bullshit.
It's true. I mean, it's one of those things because this is the story sort of happening in real life. Like Cardi B, who was also a former stripper, has said that she used to drug men.
Oh, she straight up was like, I did it all the time.
But no one bats an eye because it's a woman doing that to a man. But if it was vice versa, you are 100% correct. The shit would hit the fan.
Right, no, if I said that on one of our podcasts, one of us would get cast on SNL, and then we would finally get a lot of downloads when we ruin our careers.
Correct.
So, yeah, that's my challenge to that. But right off the bat with this article, to me, was... she viewed Samantha, Jennifer Lopez's character, as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
And this movie never points at that.
She makes her opening scene of Destiny seeing Ramona is like, you seeing a unicorn. It's like I am idolized. I am in love. I want to.
When she's like laughing and watching her do it, you're like, oh, she wants to be a stripper.
Right, I want to be everything that she is doing. And whereas like the article lets on like that she kind of laughs at the fact that she's in her 30s, late 30s. And
what she said was she was
trying to do a swim line.
She was like, oh, I took in psychology 101 and I knew that people who hate their jobs, it's the reason Wall Street people do this. Right. They have millions, but they're depressed. So they blow their millions. They make the money. Strippers are the same way. They blow all their money because they're unhappy. Then they have to go make the money back. That wasn't going to happen to me.
Yeah.
But when she's sitting there on that stage watching her dance.
She is in awe.
She's not just in awe. She's like laughing. Yeah. She's having fun.
Yeah.
And there's never any like big short moments where she like looks at the camera or like we cut to the interview and she's like, of course, I didn't want to be this, but I knew.
The interview cut in until like a good third of the film. Like
it's actually very jarring.
Yeah,
when it happens.
Like, oh, wait, this is a thing. And I actually do like that though. I didn't want that to be changed. I'm just saying, but it is something that you're not aware is happening as a device until like, oh. Got it.
I think you could have given Constance Wu a lot more to do if you had a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
And then, because then the whole third act is she's just interviewing 8 different people. Correct. So I was like, oh, this movie has stopped being about the strippers. It is now about this journalist putting together the story. Correct. And you could have almost made her the antagonist and interwoven that more to try to put together this narrative, because the biggest thing that they change is that at the end of this interview, years before it was published, right before she goes to trial, she called this journalist and said it was all fake.
I was just BSing. I just said that to get you.
There's corroborative interviews. Yeah. There are tapes. Yeah. She confessed to the crimes. And then that would have changed the entire movie.
Correct.
If right at the end she makes that phone call, instead of being like, well, I'm reading the article again and I really miss my friend, if she would have been like, I told you I wasn't going to end up like her, but none of this is real. So I'm congrats on your fictional story. And you would have been like, what?
Like, I'm sorry, what now? Because then at that point, no one's likable, but that's still fine because you're like, oh.
She becomes an unreliable narrator in the article where it's like, well, she's constantly lying. Right. We don't know what's true. I don't know what's fact. She told me that she would like sling candy in elementary school to make money, which is just how like Wall Street people did it. And she's like, but even that story is like a 1-to-1 of a real CEO. Right. So is that real or is she just saying it?
Yeah.
Her parents left her, but I did love the beat of the movie when it's like, I just, moms needed breaks sometimes. I thought she just needed a break. Yeah. I was like, that's great.
It is.
Then you get to the article and she's like, yeah, fuck those people.
She was like, I don't care about my parents. Screw them. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
This is like kind of...
She's a lot more tough.
She's a G, Terrence.
Yeah, she is. In the story, and they made her a lot more docile, and I will say not even just docile, but
almost weak.
Yeah, I say not indifferent, but like she is weak. And because she's weak, she's the one who rats and basically ruins her friendship of her friends.
Yeah, in the movie, it's like
afraid. She's just. I don't want.
In the movie, she doesn't really have like the stones to go all the way.
Right.
And in the article, it's like I did all of it.
And she keeps actively saying that she wants to take care of and do everything herself. But then she goes with Ramona, and Ramona kind of leads her in. Whereas in this article, that woman seems like she. I don't need Ramona or whatever.
It kind of ruins the ending a little bit when they're like, you should call her, and you get this like interview with J-Lo, and she's like, I keep her with me, and I keep this photo. Like, how could you have left that baby?
Right.
Then the article is just like, fuck them all.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, holy fuck.
Yeah, I mean that's something you do for like when you're doing fictional.
That's the difference between a nomination and a win.
Yeah.
Right there.
I think story-wise, I don't see this film getting in that, but I do see that J-Lo will probably get a nomination somewhere, either be a Golden Globes. But I think film-wise, yeah, you're right.
Going to get. But had they gone with this real ending, there would be nominations.
Yeah. I like. Again, I'm a fan of this movie, but I can see that. If reading the article post afterwards, I'm like, oh, these are very different. Like, yes, they're very parallel stories.
Wild. And it really just makes it feel like somebody in the studio was like, no, she has to be a good person.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, she has to be who she is.
And it's funny, though, because I still, at the end, when it's all said and done, I still think that Destiny is not the good person in this film.
She's not.
Yeah.
No, she's the rat.
Right.
She's the one who gets shot in the gut in the gangster film,
Correct.
Terrence.
Yeah.
She's the one they come for in Godfather 2.
Yeah. Well, Mercedes, Annabelle, and Ramona are
She's the snitch.
Yeah.
You always hate the snitch.
Yeah.
Even when you're following the bad
bad
guy.
guy,
Somebody
you're like-
rats out Walter
like,
White and you're
oh,
like,
no.
I want that fucker to die.
He should die.
Because we're okay following antagonistic characters, which is why we didn't need to make her super nice.
Yeah.
The movie's great,
Yeah.
but we could have had it better.
Yeah, it could have been a step up. But I still think it was really good. And audiences came out in droves.
They came
for
out
this
in
thing.
droves. So I guess before we get into that, that is the big question, and right when you're adapting a true story, when
Yeah.
you're because we've now seen, I'll use like Bohemian Rhapsody
Mm-hmm.
also as my example. When we do these biopics, these true stories, why are we taking liberties with ideas that we already think are worthy of a movie?
That would be
Why do
fine
we need
just
to
as is.
inject? I have AIDS before Live Aid, but I'll be me. Why do we need to have
Taking
this?
wild liberties.
Oh, I've lost it. I'm going crazy. Look at my one line of cocaine and my successful solo
I am
albums.
so
We've got to
wild.
make this stone cold gangster into this docile, innocent, naive person who, when you read this article, is a mastermind on a James Bond villain level.
Yeah, she's not. She is.
Because again,
great.
they're already bad people.
Correct.
So why do we need to make them good people?
The only thing I can think of is, like I said before, I just think if this was a all male driven story, I think they would have kept it the same. I think it would have been a
That's so sad.
1-to-1 flick. I think,
And I don't have any counter arguments to it. That's really the problem.
It's unfortunate because I think we don't have enough female led films to say otherwise. But I think if they're like, we need to make her softer or gentle. It's one of those things that it's a gross guy trope. And I know if a woman directed this, but there are male producers on this. Someone probably went down the line and was like, you have to make her more likable. And for me, it didn't do a complete disservice, but I can see how it is for you it did, and it is very different from the version that is.
I keep seeing these movies and I'm like, we didn't need
to change
all of this.
This is a drastic change of who this character is.
It's a different character.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if they made those changes, because I was watching this movie and I was like, this is wild. Because these people like kind of barely went to jail for what they did. Like they all got off fairly decently.
yeah.
So two of them only served prison
weekends.
I didn't know you could take a weekend shift for prison.
I'm just going to go to jail for the weekend.
How the fuck does that work?
Yeah.
What do you have to just know a code and they let you in? And how do you not get stabbed when you're only
When you're
doing
in there,
weekends?
you're like, oh, you're getting back out? Fuck you.
Yeah, right? Like, what the? Wild. But then I was like, so these women made millions doing this, right? This club made millions doing this.
Yeah.
Then they go to jail for nothing,
Yeah.
And now I have to assume they're making money off this movie. Do you think maybe we change the character and they're like, well, see, it isn't really you anymore.
Yeah, I wonder
now
if-
we don't have to pay the criminals.
I do wonder how that works, because does Jessica, the author of the article, get paid? Because, I mean, they are using direct her thing, or are we using Destiny's?
Well, I would have to assume that she had to get permission to write this article, get permission to interview them.
And then
I would
the
assume
studio
that they then had to
optioned-
buy the life rights to
Right.
everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm not sure how that works, because this isn't a fictional thing, but there is a writer and a real life person involved. I guess you would give them both a cut?
You'd probably have to.
Yeah.
But that could be a reason why it's like, well, if we do this.
Right. Because then, if she does have a say, she probably was like, well, make me a little bit nicer.
Well, of course, right? Like,
Right.
That's really what it is. It's not any of the male producers. She was like, can I not come off?
I don't want to be an ass.
Like, it didn't go well for me. We're trying to patch things up. The premiere is going to be real awkward.
Yeah, I still want to be her friend, so can we fix this?
It's wild to me, but you're right. Everyone came out in droves. 33 million,
That's
right
nuts.
under It Chapter 2 at a nice
Yeah.
40.
I mean, for a minute there, like the weekend started where they were like, oh, this could go toe to toe. And it did well for what it is. This movie only cost $20 million to make.
Oh yeah, so they're fine.
They're good. Yeah.
This has single-handedly saved STX this year.
Correct.
Because apparently nobody wanted to see ugly dolls or palms.
Yeah, neither of those. But this also goes back to, we've talked about it many times on this show before, where those mid-budget films, do they have an audience? And this one
They keep having it if you do it right.
Right.
These other ones that came out, your Brightburns and your Booksmarts, bad releases.
Yeah.
You came out in the middle. This is like It Chapter 2 is another blockbuster, but it's not a superhero Disney blockbuster.
Where you can still come in the next week under the radar and kind of do your thing.
Great counter programming to that.
And granted, this also really helped having the TIFF reviews behind it. Like the word of mouth of this got out.
It blew up in the word of mouth.
Right.
And in a way that I've never really seen.
No.
Where all of a sudden we were like, awards to Jennifer Lopez.
Because this went from being just, the Magic Mike for God, like the women version of Magic Mike, to like, oh wait, this movie is getting Oscar buzz. Like maybe we should go see this.
And we'll see if it, I guess, should. Because that was my one thing. I walked out and I was like, man, everybody's really good in this, but I don't know that this, like, it's one of the greatest things.
I really do. This is probably in my upper tier of films.
It's very good. There have not been a lot of very good movies this year.
That's the other thing too. Yeah, but I think both Constance and J-Lo. I think because I had such a low bar for J-Lo, that I'm like,
I kind of think that's why everybody's like, wow, because somebody was like, well, it's the best of her career, and I was like, well, to be fair,
yeah.
What is it? Anaconda
and Out of Sight
Selena
are probably her best two films. I love Out of Sight, and I actively think one of her best acting sequences is in the trunk of a car with George Clooney. That's like her best, like one of her best scenes in Out of Sight. But this, I think, from top to bottom, the second she's on screen, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, she's very good.
That woman is 50.
Yeah, that's
preposterous.
Well, Terrence, when you have J-Lo money,
she looks insane.
A lot of people are like, do yoga and drink water and you'll never age. That's not just drinking water and doing yoga. I'll tell you that right now.
She came out and start doing the pause like, she's 50. I don't understand. Math doesn't work in her dojo.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. That is one of the few movies where I was like, God, man, there's not really any nudity in this, but like, there's kind of a lot of nudity in this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It did well at the box office. Yeah. I'm sure it'll do well next weekend too, because I don't really think there's anything Ad Astra and Rambo.
Yeah, Rambo might get an audience.
It won't. It won't. I was looking at tickets for it today for Friday, empty theaters.
Yeah, and that's, you know what, that is a key, because I looked the week before for this movie, and I was like, oh shit, I need to get a seat now, because
I couldn't get. Yeah, I couldn't go on Thursday or Friday. I had to go Saturday. That's so dumb.
Yeah.
No, Ad Astra's got all the... and maybe that's an LA thing, right? Like, no one here... we don't fucking care.
Right.
Ad Astra's like a new original movie with Brad Pitt in space.
See it in IMAX. It's space. It's going to change.
I'm sure it's going to be very good. I'm quite excited for it. But it is just, it's going to be fine. And Rambo won't be, because we've watched that man kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's not going to stop us from talking about it next week. So come back after you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and after you follow us on Facebook and Twitter at facebook.com/group/Hollywood Already Did It and Hollywood ADI. And that'd be it.
Later.